Chase Brown over with the Cincinnati
Mm.
Bengals. Anthony, again, you put some players in the chat. If you had a reason why you put him in there, we could talk about it. But I kind of look at it as, can he overtake Zack Moss here as far as the top running back in Cincinnati? I mean, you also look at ADP. Zack Moss right now going as the RB27. Brown is the RB39. He's sandwiched in between Ezekiel Elliott and Jerome Ford. I would just say this before I kick it to you, Anthony. One has to assume Moss isn't shouldering the 67% workload that Joe Mixon had last year. He had 67% of running running plays all went to Joe Mixon. I don't think we're seeing that with Zack Moss. I also think that while Zack Moss did great last year, it was a great story early on in the year. Do we know if he could do that the whole year? I mean, we're going to find out in Cincinnati, but so I don't mind taking a stab at a Chase Brown there. Again, right now going as the RB39. He only had 11% of the touches last year. He did average 4.1 yards per carry. So take that for what you will. But Anthony, you put him in the chat as well. So what are your thoughts there? Chase Brown, everything going on in Cincinnati in that backfield.
I am more apt to draft Chase Brown, PPR league, pass catching upside. He flashed some explosiveness last year. He's also the cheaper of the two backs, which is very attractive for a backfield like that. And Joe Burrow, look at Joe Mixon's pass catching stats. Like, he does like to get the running back involved. Zack Moss isn't much of a receiver out of the backfield. If you look into his career, last year, career best 27 receptions. So yeah, like, give me the guy that we don't know a lot about. He flashed when given the opportunity last year when it comes to Chase Brown. If you look, couple of nice games, week 14 against Indy, running back 10 on a week, 19.5 PPR points. That was by far his best game, 105 total yards and a touchdown. Didn't do a ton on the ground. Now, let's scale back here to Zack Moss. Zack Moss, let's start with Buffalo. Wasn't a good running back in Buffalo.
Nope.
Zack Moss started to flash after the Bills traded him, I believe, for Nyheim Hines. And this was a Bills team that they didn't have James Cook. Like, they were looking for running backs. They couldn't wait to get rid of Zack Moss. There's a reason for that. So he goes to Indy, much better run blocking scheme, much better offensive line, a team built for Jonathan Taylor, and Zack Moss. You can't take anything away from him. He was sensational. Once JT got back, Moss got scaled out, started slowing down, but he was also wasn't as efficient. Now, again, like, you would think maybe he's at least the same type of efficiency with JT in there because he's getting a smaller workload and the defense is preparing for the skill set of Jonathan Taylor, not so much Zack Moss. So there's a lot of factors of the decline. It's not just JT. It's also, well, why wasn't Zack Moss as efficient with JT in there with the touches he was getting? And then we go into this offseason. Zack Moss was paid backup running back money. He wasn't paid Tony Pollard money. He wasn't paid Aaron Jones money. In fact, you want to know who got a comparable contract to Zack Moss? Austin Eckler with the Washington Commanders. And that's because
that guy.
No other team wants to give Austin Eckler any money because he's on the wrong side of his career that's winding down. If Austin Eckler had any gas left, he would be playing with a contender for maybe, look at the contract Derrick Henry got.
He wouldn't have got that contract.
Zack Moss, but I'm just saying, like, people think that Austin Eckler still has gas left, then why isn't he getting Derrick Henry money for a contender? Because contenders look at Austin Eckler, hey, we can go draft a guy in the 5th round and get what you give us.
Okay.
So Zack Moss gets backup running back money. So it's not like he's getting paid $5, $6, $7, $8 million a year and he's the locked and loaded starter. I think he's going to have a role because I don't know if Chase Brown's built to be the every down back. I don't think that's him. But I think the more productive fantasy player is going to be Chase Brown. And all the way, the Cincy offensive line, when it comes to Zack Moss, is significant downgrade when it comes to run blocking versus the
Sure.
Colts.
Yeah, that's where I thought you were going early on when you talked about him going to the Colts, and he had that nice situation
Yeah.
there. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind drafting either running back. If I had to pick one, it would probably be Chase Brown. It's got a lot to do with the cost. But again, I think both backs will be productive. It's just a matter of when they're going to be productive. That
Yeah.
might be a little more hit or miss.